Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I would like to call this special meeting of the Glendale Arts and Culture Commission to order on March 10th at 1:00 p.m., March 10th, 2022. And can we do a roll call, please, Jennifer?
Commissioners Tufenkian?
Here.
Commissioner Vidor?
Here.
Commissioner Zadorian?
Here.
Vice Chair Vyar?
Here.
Chairperson Yank?
Here.
Thank you. Agenda item 1A, report of the recorder reposting the agenda. The agenda for the March 10th, 2022 special meeting of the Glendale Arts and Culture Commission was posted on March 7th, 2022 on the bulletin board outside of City Hall. Agenda item 2A, Citywide Public Art Landmarks RFQ, Design Concept Proposals for Artstock Avenue Ground Level Sculpture. Motion recommending that City Council authorize the city manager or a designee to enter into an agreement for commission of artwork with an artist team to design, fabricate, and install a public art piece for the Artstock Avenue ground level sculpture in an amount not to exceed $100,000 dispersed from the Urban Art Program Fund. Jennifer Fukutomi-Jones, Principal Arts and Culture Administrator. We are here today, as mentioned, to review design concept proposals for the Artstock Avenue ground level sculpture. Just to give a recap of what has happened thus far. In September of 2020, the Arts and Culture Commission recommended that LaBasse Projects be recommended as the consultant with City Council to enter an agreement. On October 20, 2020, City Council approved a motion to enter into a professional services agreement with LaBasse Projects for said project over the fiscal years of 2021, 2022, and 2023 to utilize the commissioning and curation of 10 large public art pieces for the city of Glendale. In February of 2021, LaBasse Projects began working with staff to discuss proposed locations throughout the city for public art. In May 2021, LaBasse Projects presented their proposed strategic plan to the Arts and Culture Commission for 6 specific locations throughout the city, which are listed in the RFQ process. The first was the Artstock Avenue Gateway artwork, the Artstock Avenue overhead artwork, the Artstock Avenue ground level sculpture, Central Park ground level sculpture, Glen Oaks Boulevard, Brand Boulevard median sculpture, and the Verdugo Park ground building mural. On August 16th, 2021, LaBasse Projects released the Citywide Public Art RFQ, and it was closed on October 8th, 2021, and we received 256 applications for consideration. At September 16th, 2021, the commission appointed Chairperson Yank to the committee for the artist review and selection for these said artworks. We have LaBasse Projects here, who is going to provide a quick overview of the process, and then we will invite the artists to present their design concepts. So, Bo, would you like to share next steps?
Yes. Hi, Commissioners. Thanks for joining us today. Excited to share a couple of artist options and introduce you to some artists for the Artstock ground level sculpture. Just picking up from where Jennifer left off in terms of the process. Our selection team from Library Arts, Chairperson Yank was part of that selection panel. We reviewed all of the applications, in this case for the ground level sculpture. We narrowed it down to 5 artists that we thought would be great options for this location. We asked 5 artist studios to provide site-specific concept designs. 2 of the 5 declined towards the end of the process, so we will be looking at 3 options today. As a reminder, this location and specifically was chosen originally as part of Studio 111's streetscape redesign. So this location was a piece that has been cited as part of their pending streetscape plan. All 3 of the artists have been given all of Studio 111's the most current plans and documents, so they've been able to absorb and see exactly how the street is planned to function, and all of their installations are cited essentially in the exact same spot as designed in Studio 111 streetscape plan. So I'd like to, without unless there are any questions, we'll be hearing from Forma Studios, Huda Souza Studio, and Urban Rock Design, 3 different artist design studios. who each have, I think, very unique and interesting applications for this artwork location opportunity. Any questions before we start meeting with the artists?
I think we're good.
No?
Thank you,
Okay.
Bo. I'm going to invite then Forma Studio to enter into the room. Just give me a second. Okay, Forma Studio, are you here? Sixto? I think you might be on mute. Okay. Hello? Hello, can you hear us or we don't hear you.
This is Gary Schaefer, Director, Library Arts and Culture. We find if we hover our cursor down towards the bottom of the screen, the unmute button should appear.
Sorry about that. Are you able to hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah. Apologies. It was connecting for a while. We were trying to unmute ourselves there. Should we go ahead and share our screen?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Okay. Are you able to see our screen?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Great. Okay, I'll get started. Hello, my name is Sixto Cordero, and this is my partner, Karen Kitayama. We're here to present our design for the ground level sculpture for Artstock Avenue, which we have titled Tamid Gohar, which translates to Sun Jewel. We want to briefly talk about our team. Our practice is named Forma Studio. We are a design studio centered around public art, and the reason we're centered around public art is because it presents us the opportunity to not design in a vacuum. Our design approach is never stylistic, and we design solutions customized to the sites we're working in. Our mission is to enrich the context we're working in with art pieces that provide a meaningful experience for those who view, approach, and touch them. Our fabricator, Kevin Mogg from Metal Arts Foundry, is somebody that I have collaborated with for years. Metal Arts Foundry is located in Utah, and they're the go-to people for metal art fabrication in the US. They have been around for over 25 years and have completed projects all over the United States and Canada. So these next few slides are a few projects fabricated and installed by Metal Arts Foundry, on which I was the project manager for during my tenure at Cliff Garden Studio, which is a large public art studio out of Los Angeles, California. The reason we're showing these is to exemplify the level of precision and craft that our fabricator is capable of. These projects, although are different from ours, have a direct parallel to the means and methods and fabrication procedures that we would be using for Tamid Gohar.
Now we'd like to briefly share a few slides of a project we recently completed in Santa Clarita. The project is called Californiascape, and we just want to use it as an example of how our work is contextualized within its site. At first glance, the work is a clear standout in the park that it's located in, but Californiascape fits in and belongs to its context and was designed for its specific location. It was inspired by the Santa Clarita Mountains and was made out of a stone that matches the color palette of the natural stones within the site. Additionally, we'd like to talk a bit about our role in each of our projects. Often with larger scaled work, designers become detached from the means and methods of making their work. We're very much the opposite. As you can see in Californiascape, we went from designing the artwork to selecting the stone to even writing the tool paths for the fabricator to cut the stone. and ultimately installing the artwork. We're very hands-on in all the steps of each project to ensure that each of the works that is delivered matches our design intent to the highest degree. Now, as we present the project that we have designed for Artstock Avenue, we'd like to talk about the concepts and the inspiration behind the design. We're happy to respond to any technical questions you may have about the piece at the end. For this project, we look to Glendale's history and its symbols for inspiration. We're going to walk you through a bit of the research we did in order to land on the artwork we're presenting today. Shortly after the incorporation of Glendale, Edward U. Emery, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, declared that Glendale, with its background of the Verdugo Hills, sparkled like a jewel in the sun. As you all know, this was adopted as the city's official title soon thereafter. This idea of a jewel sparkling in the sun is the driving concept behind our art piece, Tamit Gohar. The title of the piece alludes to the Tongva and Armenian heritage of Glendale.
So the word Tamit means sun in the Tongva language, which the term Gohar, meaning jewel in Armenian. By naming the piece Sun Jewel in the words of these specific languages, we pay homage to two cultures that bestowed significant influence in the shaping of what the city is today, while being inspired by the universal symbol of the city's title. Through the piece, we aim to provide the city of Glendale with a jewel that sparkles in the sun and glows under the stars at night. It will serve as an interactive beacon for the important pedestrian reconfiguration that is planned for Artstock Avenue. Both the Tongva and the Armenian cultures place much importance on the sun, as does the city of Glendale. For the Tongva, the sun, Tamit, was one of their primary gods. In early Armenian mythology, the sun, Arev, embodied the creator. Additionally, the Armenian sun cross, which is depicted in this slide, is a very important it is a very important symbol of Armenian identity even today. For Glendale, the sunshine has always been a source of pride, as evidenced in the origin of its Jewel City title, which we touched on before. However, the symbolism does not stop there. If one examines the city's flag, the field of yellow is also meant to reference sunlight, underlining the importance of this theme in relation to the city's identity. Another symbol we used for inspiration was the hibiscus flower, which, as some of you may know, is Glendale's official flower, which was declared by the city council as such in 1941. Tamit Gohar will be made out of stainless steel, and its exterior face will be reflective to a degree, which will make it shine like a jewel in the sunlight, while also inviting people to interact with the piece and their own reflections. Geometrically, the art piece is cut at an angle that reveals a golden interior of stained stainless steel, whose exposed cross-section resembles a sun. At night, the piece will be illuminated with LED lights with full RGBW DMX control. This provides the opportunity via programming to activate the piece and the surrounding space with a beautiful display of shifting colors. We will provide an initial program and a color palette, but the possibilities are endless, and other programs can be developed to tie into the city events and celebrations. We just want to mention that we're showing the piece located in this specific location and tying into the design of this bench, which is part of the proposal of Studio 111 for the landscape design of this pedestrian redevelopment. But the piece is flexible and can be moved to a different location. We just found that this was a really central location, which would give the piece prominence and would make it shine, as a beacon for this redevelopment. Ultimately, our goal was to create a piece that embodies all these symbols that we have described and resembles a jewel in the sun. Tamit Gohar aims to act as an abstract beacon that symbolizes the city of Glendale's history, along with an optimistic view for its future. So now we're open for any questions you may have, and we're just going to go through these additional images that we created.
Thank you so much for your presentation. We really appreciate it. Chairperson Yank, would you like me to go through the roll call for questions?
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Jen.
Vice Chair Vier, do you have any questions?
First, just let me say thank you. It's amazing how you were able to incorporate every symbol so beautifully into this piece, and also the way you've incorporated it into Studio 111's concept. I very much appreciate your paying homage to both the Armenian and the Tongva cultures, and I think that could open the door for perhaps a land acknowledgement activity or something around this space at a future date. Thank you for that. I do have a question. I was wondering, is there a possible risk of the accumulation of standing water in that piece?
So in technical terms, even though the piece seems seamless, if you look closely, there are gaps at every counter curve. So water would definitely escape the piece. Additionally, we would suspend the piece maybe 1 inch over the pedestal, and we would use a pole structure that would be completely hidden and almost impossible to view, even from the angle of the parking garage, in order to create a gap in between the piece and the pedestal and evacuate any water that could potentially be collected.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Commissioner Tufekcion?
Hi, thank you for your presentation and this beautiful design. Really appreciate how it seamlessly kind of just lends itself and flows beautifully in the landscape of Artstock Street. My question was also water and leaf or any other thing that might fall in, and I think you answered that, so I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vidor?
Thank you. Such a beautiful piece. I love the reflectivity of it. I love the multicultural interpretation that inspired you. And I love the light concept too. And I only have a few technical questions, a couple technical questions. First of all, the lights, which I think it's great that they change. And I wondered if you could give us a little more detail about how those lights change, like how often, how it's, as the seasons progress, how the lighting over the progression of dusk and the night and then daybreak cycles with the lights. And if, like, does one see a change in the lights frequently, or is it stay for a long time one way and then changes to something else? And then also the visibility of the lighting structures, where are the lights positioned and all the wiring and electrical support that is included in that? If you could just reflect on that.
Sure.
Yeah, let me see, I think that was my main question. Yes, and then I have one about the exterior, but you could answer this one first.
Sure. Yeah, so, I mean, these slides are completely flexible. I think our intent would be to create a program that shifts slowly. I don't think, we want to create a really crazy program that is just flashing crazy lights. We would want to create something that matches the function of the space and transitions through colors in a way that is harmonious and calm, right? We would select colors that are appropriate for the space and perhaps in coordination with the Arts and Culture Commission. Typically, these lights work with an astronomical time clock, so they could be tied into an existing astronomical time clock for the city lights, and then they would just turn on and run the pre-programmed shows that we create. If the city at a later time would like to include additional programs that match a sports event or a celebration or anything else like that, that can be done. We can reach out back to our programmer and he can create a program that matches those specific colors and that specific fluctuation of colors.
Thank you. That's a great answer, and I appreciate it. My second question is, because you mentioned Cloudgate, which, you know, as a native Chicagoan, the bean is near and dear to my heart. And, and I wondered if a little bit more information about the exterior finish, which I believe is stainless steel, right?
Yes.
And, you know, like is it a burnished or brushed metal, or is it very mirror-like, like the Cloudgate sculpture? Like, how would you define the degree of reflectivity, you know, as people walk around it and get different images? Just a little
This
more.
product that I was showing earlier from Cliff Garden Studio that I was the designer and main product manager for, it's a product which matches the finish that we would probably be aiming to do, which is a polished finish. It's not perfect mirror polish, but it's highly reflectable, as you can see here, and would approximate very much what Cloudgate is able to do for people in Chicago.
Thank you. That's great. Love it.
Commissioner Zadorian?
I think it's a wonderful piece. I think everyone asked the questions that were necessary, and I have no questions. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Chairperson Yank.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I do think it's beautiful. I agree with my fellow commissioners. I'm just on the exterior, you know, I'm just wondering, since it is so highly polished, like, are fingerprints going to be a problem? I mean, I can imagine a lot of people would want to maybe go up and touch this sculpture. So maybe just a little bit about maintenance, cleaning, you know, keeping it in good condition.
Of course. I mean, yeah, so typically stainless steel pieces are one of the easiest ones to maintain in public spaces. You know, there's a lot of factors that go into how frequent the maintenance needs to occur, but generally we've had really good experience with these, and we've developed a system that maintains them rust-free and clean with minimal maintenance and a very specific set of products. We would include a very detailed maintenance package at the end that is specifically designed for the sculpture. And yes, I mean, I think people would touch it, people would leave fingerprints on it, but we don't think that that would be something that, you know, can't be wiped down. And we don't think it's something that would be all that visible with the finish that we're aiming for. As I showed earlier, that piece, as well as Cloudgate, have been you know, out in the elements with people touching them all the time, and you know, they've lasted, and they don't have any particular issues with that problem.
Great, thank you. That's all my questions for right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much to you both. We really, really appreciate you coming and for sharing your proposal for this opportunity. I think at this point, you're welcome to exit the meeting. And if you have any additional questions, Lavasse Projects will be happy to assist you with those. But thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate it.
Thank
you so much.
Appreciate it. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Okay, at this moment, I'm going to invite Hu D'Souza to enter the meeting. Hu D'Souza, are you here?
Yeah, we're here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. And you're welcome to begin whenever you're ready.
Sounds great. Thanks so much. Sorry, our daughter's just Nancy is right around the corner from the computer. I'll begin. All right. Can everyone see the presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, did you settle down? All right.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. I'm Nancy Ho, and this is Josh D'Souza. Our studio is called Ho D'Souza. Thanks so much for this exciting opportunity. And sorry for the baby.
Yeah, sorry, we don't have a big apartment in New York. I'll just take over.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a really exciting project for us to work on. We had a lot of fun, and we were honored to be considered. I'll just jump right into it. When we were beginning the design process, we really wanted to find local precedents and inspirations, and were wowed by the archways at Brand Library, and particularly how they frame space and the folks who visit the library. Additionally, these archways have a kind of floral quality to their silhouettes, and this led us to seeking out some native examples of flora, such as California aster on the right, as well as some foreign connections that we made to species such as lavender. And both of these had an influence on the color selection of the piece. Buddy is really, it's a playful and functional public sculpture whose scalp silhouette makes that connection to the Brand Library. But beyond providing the seating within its circular aperture, it also provides an iconic photo op for the visitors who are at Art Shack Avenue, and it frames the daily life of Art Shack Avenue. There are no moving parts to the piece. Everything is welded on and secure, but it's very much a highly visually dynamic piece. The perforations and steel bars create what's known as a moire effect, which is visible when one walks towards the sculpture or tilts their gaze while looking at the sculpture. So it very much has a sense of visual movement as the surfaces and gaps kind of continuously shimmer. This shows the scale of the piece within the context of Artstock Ave, and in relative to a person as well. And here we have some primary dimensions of the overall height of 11'8", and the circle is 5'4". In a previous project that we worked on, it has similar aperture, and we found that folks really enjoyed sitting on it and you know, acting like hamsters on hamster wheels, etc., doing all sorts of things that we couldn't have imagined they were going to do. The dimensions are also based off of just considering how tall it would be when we tip it over, and are planning on the transportation and install so that it can fit on a standard truck size. In terms of the materials and hardware, there wouldn't be a whole lot. We don't see an issue with the budget. And in terms of the site requirements, it depends on what's planned already. Potentially the concrete that's planned already may be thick enough that our anchor bolts, just some anchor bolts is enough. Our engineer may look at the project though, and as a heads up, may request something like augering some holes and putting a couple sonotubes at the most, I would imagine. But if there's a pad of concrete, that should be enough to hold the sculpture. We don't also foresee an issue in terms of the timeline, and are happy to team up with, I think it would make most sense to team up with a fabricator in the Los Angeles area. We included a couple things just as background reference in case it was helpful leading up to today, some examples of projects we've worked on in the past, and a brief resume. I won't go into that. We can just jump right into questions related to the project.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Chairperson Yang, if it's okay, I'll begin with roll call for questions. Vice Chair Yang, Vice Chair Beyer, do you have any questions?
Thanks. Well, it's a stunning piece, very beautiful. And I just have a question about the orientation of it, because it was a little difficult for me to tell from the drawing. So as people approach it, this drawing does not show what it looks like to people on the sidewalk, correct? It's your next photo. Do people, is this the way, yeah, back. like this? Is this the way it looks to people entering Artstock or walking from Broadway to Harvard or Harvard to Broadway on Artstock?
Yeah, so this is a view from above. This was just to give a kind of a broad view of how large it was compared to some of the other site features. How you would begin to approach it would be something more like this view. And potentially, if you were walking directly along the side of it towards it that way, you would see it like what you see on the right.
Okay, so if you're walking toward it, you're going to, on the sidewalk, you're going to see the side of it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, I'm just going to interject, Commissioner Villar, Vice Chair Villar. I think, Josh, can you go back to the sort of overhead? I think Commissioner Villar is asking what the view is as you're walking up and down Artstock. Is that correct? Is that what you were asking?
Yes, that's
okay,
correct.
so you can see in this actual view, it's the same landing spot for all the art installations. This is Artstock basically going north, and you can see this is the roadway. So this is the crosswalk. If you can see the crosswalk, I don't know, Josh, if you can zoom in a little bit. I just want to make sure Vice Chair Villar is totally clear of
Oh,
what
I
you're
do
proposing.
see it now. Thank you. Oh, yes, I do now.
Okay. Yeah, so just as a reminder to everybody that all of the art installations are located in basically exactly the same spot based on Studio 111's plan.
I knew it was in the same spot. I just didn't know how it was oriented, but I could,
Yeah.
but I see now. Thank you for
So
clarifying.
you can sort of see the crosswalk in the center. Yeah,
I
I just wanted to
can.
make sure. And I guess I would maybe add on to that question, Josh, Nancy, if there was request from Public Works or the Arts and Culture Commission to sort of slightly change the sort of angle of Buddy, are you guys open to shifting the sort of directional visibility?
Yes, of course. That we would be happy to explore other options.
Yeah, we had tried to keep it here because it seemed like one of the spots that was available. But yeah, its orientation isn't fixed. For this one, we were just trying to line up with the plantings and the bend, the kink in the road.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we could explore how other angles work and other locations as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry, I didn't want to hijack, but it was sort of a natural question. Sorry, I wanted to make sure Vice Chair Villar was clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tufenkian?
Yes, hi. Thank you for your presentation. And I love the project. I think it's great that it invites the public for public engagement and kind of engaging with the work. I was wondering about material and upkeep for the piece.
Yep. So materially, it's completely made out of steel. It weighs quite a bit. It's about 2,700 pounds. It would be finished in a 4-step process. So it would have an epoxy primer, and then it would have a urethane coats of this no hunting purple is what a lot of times you see it as. And then it would have a clear coat that would prolong the longevity of the color, which already would be on the high end because of the tone being so bluish. Really run into problems more when it's on the yellow side. Yellow and orange tend to fade the quickest. Blue, it's kind of like on the other side of the spectrum. And then anti-graffiti top coat would cover everything so that you could easily wash that off if something were to happen. So the upkeep is pretty minimal. The finish is a liquid. It's all liquid based. So if there was something that were to happen unexpected where someone really scraped into the paint with a knife or something, you could apply wet paint on the site. It wouldn't be. It's not a powder coat. It's not electrostatic or anything like that. You can just do that on site pretty easily.
So you could repair it without having to take things apart and.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to take it into the shop or anything like that.
Okay.
Because for that for a powder coat, you need more of a controlled environment.
Yeah, and I saw in your previous project you had a similar project. I think that it looks indoors. And I was just wondering how that project was received by the public.
Which one?
It's a pink, tall, yeah, in the middle.
So that one's under construction right now. So it's it's scheduled to be installed in mid-April in Washington, D.C. We're pretty excited about it. It's a bit price-wise, it was kind of a bit more to get that one done. So we didn't really take that approach with this project.
No, and I like that this one reflects the arches of the Brand Library. So I think that's beautiful. All right, those are right for my questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Vidor?
Yes, thank you very much. I, of course, love the Brand Libraries. Everybody here does. And that's a beautiful, beautiful dedication to some of the shapes in the architecture. And then it has that floral element too, which, of course, makes it all the more beautiful. I have a couple questions. One is about it's kind of looks like it's a mesh, kind of intertwining of metal materials, and I wonder how big the kind of holes are. It's porous, so like how does stuff from the air and debris and things, how do you expect things to get inside the piece? And then what is the potential there, and what would be done to keep it clean on the interior?
Yeah. So the gaps are about 3/4 of an inch to an inch apart for both the steel bars and also the laser cut plate. At the bottom, it's a little tough to see in this view. If we go to the elevation, it's a little clearer. So we've begun to leave some openings at the bottom where it's easy to reach in. If anything were to kind of pass through the perforations or the spacing between the bars, it would drop down to the bottom. So it could be occasionally maintained. So if someone put in, I don't know, like a pamphlet or something, or a candy bar wrapper, it would eventually just drop down to the base, and you could scoop it out. So we wouldn't put any bars at the base here. We would leave those open so that you could just reach in and grab them.
Clean it.
And we'd also likely revise the one on the left. It's a little too small right now. We'd probably make it just a little easier, a little closer to the size of the one in the middle and to the right. So the pedal would get a little bit smaller, just so you'd have that access.
Okay. And you said that the aperture, the round hole in the piece, is how tall?
It's 5'4".
Well, that's great. I could, since I'm less than 5'4", I could stand up in it and maybe even stand on my head in it. So I guess I wonder how you, you saw somebody nicely sitting in the middle of it and posing, but how much physical insanity do you envision happening in this hole here?
Most folks, either from a past project that we worked on called Ziggy that had a circular aperture in it of a similar size, most folks sit in it or they lounge in it. They'll sit the other way. They'll treat it
put their feet up. Yeah.
You get folks who stand on it, especially kids, and they'll like spread out their arms or do whatever. Sometimes they'll climb up a little bit of it, but it's not a very large opening, so there was never any issue. Like real crazy stuff is just when a group of people will all stand in it together. But it's fine. It's structurally
it's stable. Yeah. Well, that's great, and I really enjoyed looking at your application. I love your other pieces, and I was particularly awestruck by some of your light-related pieces as well. So beautiful work that you guys do. That's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Arlene.
Commissioner Zadorian?
I do not have any questions at this time. It's a beautiful piece. I do appreciate that it is interactive with the public, which is always, it's great. I guess I did have a question. I was wondering where the color exactly was, like why this color and why this shape, I guess.
Shape-wise, it's the negative of the brand. It's not an exact negative, but it's inspired by the
Scalloping outline.
of
Okay.
the brand's archways. So
The
it
much
kind
more floral.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the color?
Color-wise, it was these initial, these floral examples.
Yeah.
California aster, and then it just got us thinking in terms of the appearance as well, the connection to lavender buds.
Okay. Thank you so much. I have no further questions.
Chairperson Yank?
Thank you so much for your presentation. I think it's a beautiful piece, and I also really appreciate the engagement aspect of it. The benefit of going last is the other commissioners have asked all the questions that I had, so I don't have any questions for you. But thanks again for being here today.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for attending today and presenting and sharing your design concept proposal with us. We really appreciate you being here. At this time, you're welcome to exit the meeting. And if you have any additional questions, you're welcome to reach out to Labas Projects. But we thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate the opportunity. It was great to meet everyone.
Okay, and then at this point, I'm going to bring in our last finalist, Urban Rock. Okay, Urban Rock, are you here?
Yeah, hi.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. Whenever you're ready, you're welcome to start your presentation.
Okay, just give us a second here. I'll have Janine move over and we'll share our screen. Janine? So we're Urban Rock Design. I'm Russell Rock, and this is my wife and partner, Janine Centauri. We'll share our screen here now for our presentation if you like, and you should be able to see that. Is that
perfect? Yes, we do.
Thank you. Thank you all for inviting us to present our proposal. Our piece is called Cadence, and the idea for this piece is that it's about the rhythm and motion of activity and pedestrians on the street. Go forward. We drew our inspiration from the lively and fun and exuberant motion of people in the street together. And we were responding to the idea that you guys were asking for in the call to have it be something that is somehow interactive with the public and also somehow iconic and about the incredible diversity of Glendale. And so now you're going to see our proposal. We're jumping right in. This is a plan view, and you can see that it's right adjacent to that crosswalk on Artstock.
from the parking garage? And this is a shot of the model, looking at it again in plan view, showing how the elements are dispersed.
Now hang on for a moment, because you'll see what happens as you look at this from different directions. Here we're looking at it from above, an unnatural view looking down.
From the parking garage.
From the parking garage, yes. If you were up in the parking garage, this is what you would see. And then when you're on the street, you start to see this, and you maybe are getting intrigued, like these are somewhat abstract. You might be able to recognize figures, but you're still not sure what it is. And then as you move around, you catch various glimpses of this. And this is sort of the punchline in that this is, these are figures in motion. And we drew from a wide range of ages, male, female, kids, all types of people that are moving through Glendale.
So as you move around, the piece sort of falls apart and comes back together depending on your point of view.
Which is something that as you see here, you see an older man, a young man, a woman shopping. We try to portray this idea that there's a lot of activity and hustle bustle going on, and it's exciting.
And all different sorts of people.
So here, every time you move around this piece, now what would happen is when you see it from afar, you might catch glimpses. And then as you sort of encircle it or just simply walk around it, you'll catch different aspects of it. So clearly you can see this is, these sort of negative spaces in between the figures are these monoliths.
And the figures are slightly larger than life scale. So we don't have a scale figure in here, but the adult figures are somewhere between 6 and 7 feet tall. The pieces of water jet cut aluminum themselves are 9 feet tall. So that gives you some reference, and they're 3 feet wide.
So, and then just a little bit about the making of the piece. It would be, we've used this technique a lot, and it's aluminum sheets that are cut, and then it's powder coated, which is a very durable kind of baked on finish, which also softens the edges of the metal. And we also, our color palette is derived largely from the Studio 111, from their work, what we've seen of the color palette of the designs of the landscaped areas. And we wanted it to be kind of lively and also, again, about a diversity of colors.
And we have a narrative included and a budget. So you can see it's we're proposing 3/4 inch aluminum plate. There would need to be some engineering, possibly the addition of some metal angle in the solid part to as a stiffener. That still needs to be determined by engineering. For the site work, we're proposing in-grade uplights of LED so that it can be lit at night. It would probably be lit it's sort of a chevron shape, so it probably would be lit from like the interior view, which these are from the inside of that chevron form, and that would relate back. You can see here. Mm-hmm. So the lighting would be in that area next to where the crosswalk is, but they would be directed toward the pieces, and so those pieces would be lit and not so much interfering with people crossing the crosswalk.
Mm-hmm. And then I think the last page was the budget, and then we also talked about maintenance and timeline, and how we were asked to talk about how long it would take to build it, to complete it. But yeah, that's the presentation. I just want to say that to us, the interactivity was really important. We wanted this to appeal to kids, adults, and to not be something that's static, even though the piece itself is static, but people's motion around it is what brings it to life.
I'll take it back to one of the images.
Thank you.
So yeah, that pretty much wraps up our presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your presentation. Chairperson Yank, may I begin with the question session? Great. Yes. Vice Chair Beyer, do you have any questions?
No, I just want to say I absolutely love the movement on this piece. I'm so impressed with how you were able to coordinate the coming together, breaking apart, and coming together again, depending on the POV of the viewers. Love that. Let's see. I have a quick question about the powder coating, since I know a lot of outdoor furniture is powder coated aluminum, and it just you can hose it down, wipe it off, wipe it dry so it doesn't spot. And is that kind of what you see for this? And is there a shield, like a graffiti protection over this?
Yeah, generally we go with a double layer of powder coat and then a top coat of an anti-graffiti coating that you can use. Basically 97% isopropyl alcohol will take Sharpie off. And so it cleans easily. We've had pieces that have been tagged and cleaned. So we can say that based on our own experience. So yeah, it's a relatively easy thing to maintain, you know, a light light washing and every now and then we'll keep it looking clean. And because of that surface, like you said, it's used in street furniture because it's easy to maintain and retains its color values well.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun, not just looking at the figures, but almost trying to figure out what mission each one was on, because they look like they're really headed someplace important.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but the woman in the right is pointing up to the moon.
I did. I spent some time with each person. Thank you very much. Very lovely piece.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tufenkian?
Ditto. I love the playfulness of the piece. I think the colors are great. And it's so interesting to see how walking around it comes together. My question would be, you know, towards the feet, there's a lot of sharp pieces. Mm-hmm. So because of the cutout of just how the feet are positioned, could that be an issue? I'm wondering, you know, with kids or whatever, someone tripping on it, or...
That's a great question. Thank you. We did actually talk about that, and we have an idea about it. First of all, we would round the corners more than what is shown in this model. But secondly, Russell and I thought about putting it up on a slight plinth so that you're not, it's not exactly on the ground level, but there's a slight raise to it so that you have to intentionally walk towards it. That was our other idea about dealing with that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's how we would do it, I think.
Okay. Okay. That's my only question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vidor?
Thank you. This piece is just great, and it's so interesting. In addition to just the concept, I love the colors and the layout and the setup. I too have an interest in understanding what the impact of, I think you said it's 3/4 of an inch thick, each panel.
Yes.
You know, and even with rounding of edges and powder coating and different things, you know, what the potential is and how do you envision people interacting with it, you know, in terms of walking in between, getting inside the cutouts themselves, sitting on, could you show where you see the different, could you go back to the image where you see the different edges around? There was another one. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, there you go.
That, you know, there are some opportunities for people to do some very interesting things with their bodies in those cutouts. And the fact that the whole art piece looks different from different angles is wonderful and fascinating. But, you know, I'm wondering if the 3/4 inch thickness is, you know, if that's thick enough, you know, to be something that people can engage with. And then my other question is related, and you may have said this and maybe I blanked out for a minute, but during the evening and when it's dark, how it's illuminated. So those are my two questions for you. I love it. Just love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
3/4, the aluminum that would be used is type 6061. It's a architectural aluminum that's used on building facades. And at 3/4 of an inch, it's really stiff. So there are substantial enough borders or connections in this that it would be very difficult to, say, bend something, you know?
I'm thinking more of human interaction with something
Sure.
that thick or thin, you know, I don't know, relatively speaking, in terms of engaging with it, you know, leaning over certain aspects,
Yeah.
inserting yourself into it if there's, you know.
Yeah, I know what you're getting at. I think that people would be more likely to sort of want to pose with it, you know, and because it's okay, so 3/4 of an inch, it's not thick enough such that you would sort of get in there and sit. And these figures are slightly larger than life, but I do think there might be a tendency to want to, like, you know, pose and take a picture. I don't envision people wanting to step into this sort of cutouts, though you could, and you would be fine doing so. So I kind of see it more as a, you know, standing near it and posing with it. And I think, I do think that we would have to do some work to reduce the issue with the spiky pieces. But I do think that if it were up on even just a 6-inch curb or say plinth platform, that would keep you from, you know, wanting to move through it quickly. You would step up and, you know, get close to it.
Let me talk about the lighting.
The lighting, yeah.
In the plan here, oops. Yeah, sorry.
There you go.
In the plan here, the lighting would be fixed down in this area, if you can see where I'm moving the cursor. So there would be uplights here, and that would, and then relating to this, you can see that the uplights would be in this area in here. And so they would be shining up on to the pieces. So from the outside of that chevron, the pieces would be backlit and they would appear differently. You know, it would be with the lighting on the face of it, you're going to get more of that color rendition, and you can see here we have strong lighting coming from one side, and you can see that shadows become cast upon the ground there. Uplighting, the shadows will be a little bit less, but on the back side, the color will be sort of, you know, darker, even with the ambient light around, so that there will be sort of a, you know, an inside outside to the color in the evening. So I hope that is an answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Zadorian?
Yes, I appreciate very much that this is a different take on a sculpture. It's also interactive, it's playful. I enjoyed it very much. I don't have any further questions, but thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chairperson Yank.
Thank you. Yeah, again, I really do appreciate the presentation, and I agree with my fellow commissioners on the playful nature. I think it would be very engaging. My only question had to do with what Commissioner Bedore was asking about, with some of the spiky pieces and, you know, just sort of mitigating if there's small children kind of interacting with the piece, and, you know, but it sounds like that's something that could be easily kind of taken care of. So I don't have any further questions, but thank you so much for being here and presenting to us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation today. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us. At this time, you've concluded your presentation. You're welcome to exit the meeting. And if you have any additional questions, you're welcome to reach out to Labas Projects. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. It was good to meet you all.
Okay, I believe all the artists have left the room. I'm going to look at the public comment line. It appears as though we do not have any public comment at this moment, Chairperson Yank.
And
Okay, great.
Director Schaefer just would like to say that Mike Grant has now been able to join us, so he is on the call with us, and Mia has left.
Wonderful. So I guess before we make our motion, I think let's open it up to Commissioner. You know, we can open it up to discussion around the pieces and what, you know, feels like it is rising to the top for you, what you might have concerns with. And so let's start with Vice Chair Beyer. We'll go in that same order.
Okay, thank you, Chair Yank. Well, gosh, I love them all. Just like you keep doing this, bringing us like these great pieces that make a decision very difficult. But the Forma Studios Sun Jewel really spoke to me on a lot of levels. For one thing, it just incorporates into Studio 111's concept so beautifully. It just looks like they collaborated on it to put it there. I already mentioned the symbols, the symbolism. It was such a well-researched project. I think that they pulled. I mean, did you all know that the hibiscus is the official flower of Glendale? I didn't know that myself. It happens to be my favorite flower as well. And then one of the things I think that I loved about it was the outward, I guess the playful outward reflection, the reflective quality of it. You realize that it's sitting where it's sitting is in a direct line with Central Library that houses the Reflect space, and reflection is something that Glendalians have been encouraged to engage in through our library arts and culture programs with the Be the Change series. They're components that encourage reflection, and it's just sort of a metaphor to me that outward reflection is sort of a metaphor for the inward, the internal reflection that we all should be doing and have been doing these past couple of years. And so I would say that right now I'm strongly leaning toward that piece as just being a perfect fit for Artstock. The others, though, I love too, but I would say right now I'm really leaning toward the Tamit Gohar. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Tufenkian.
Yes, hi. Okay, so again, I would have to agree with Vice Chair Beyer. I think I'm leaning towards Tamit Gohar. I think all three of the pieces are exceptional, beautiful, and I actually really like the public engagement of the other two pieces. However, we do have a piece just down the street, a few feet away, which is, which encourages public interaction. So I think, not every piece has to have that. And I feel with this piece, I think it's going to stand out and be very, it's going to be a statement piece. So I really like the reflectivity of it. I like that we can change the colors on it. I like that it could reflect colors that, depending on celebration or whatever. And I like the dimensions of it. I like where it's situated in the middle of the street. It just feels like it's got a big presence, and I think it stands out. So I'm leaning towards that one. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just interject too that we do want to choose an alternate. Is that correct, Jennifer? Just for whatever reason. So it might be good to also,
Okay, go for the alternate.
We'll just weigh in on like what your second choice might be. You know,
Okay.
if you're, yeah.
So I think for the alternate, I would go with, oh gosh, the second piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that one is beautiful. It picks up on a shape that Glendale, the brand library is very known for that shape. So I think it reflects that beautifully. It encourages public engagement. And as much as I like the third piece as well, but I really feel that those sharp pieces, I don't know how they're going to take care of it. I'm not convinced. And I think that could be, it could be a hazard for small children. And I think I wouldn't want to risk that.
Thank you, Commissioner Fankian. Vice Chair Bayar, I'll return to you to see if you had a secondary alternative in mind.
Well, actually, I thought Cadence was a lot of fun, but now Commissioner Tefenkian has me envisioning a child being impaled on one of those pieces, and so so I'm kind of on the fence still about that. Let me hear what the other commissioners have to say.
Okay, Commissioner Vidor.
Oh, this is tough. Yeah, I think since the meeting started, I've ranked 1, 2, and 3 different. Like I've done the ranking like 5 times and come up with 5 different scenarios. So, any one of them would be wonderful. But I'm going to say that I agree for all the reasons already mentioned by my fellow commissioners that Forma's piece. It really speaks on so many levels, the diversity, the culture, the aesthetics of it, the reflectivity of it, which really resonates a lot with me. So it is interactive, even though one doesn't necessarily touch it or jump into it or in that way or immerse in it. It's still interactive from the reflective perspective. And I think it's highly workable. And I'd certainly like to commend Forma for the outstanding presentation that they made. I think their research and the package was so vivid and so descriptive that they really didn't leave a lot of stones unturned in terms of answering questions we would have and explaining their rationale for it and everything else. So I would put that at my number 1. And then it gets tough because, I kind of like the second piece, Buddy. Like I like it in Brand Park, kind of reflected the Brand Library. So, it's beautiful. It could certainly be the second one, but that other one is so interesting. And I wish there was a solution to make that very unique and novel interactive piece workable. But I do have some concerns about it too. And, if somebody, I don't know if this meeting is the place to have a discussion about that because it could probably go on forever. But, I wish there was a little bit, if they could have addressed it maybe a little bit more to give me more confidence that somebody wasn't going to get hurt with that, then, I would put that at my number 2. So right now, number 2 and number 3 are tied for second place, and I'll make my decision after I've heard from everybody. I know that's a very wimpy way to go about this, but I'm just torn on that one.
Thank you. Commissioner Zadorian.
Yes, so I personally would like to choose the first option, which was Tom Meets Gohard. That is my first option. I'm very firm on that. And my second option would be Buddy. And that would pretty much be it, but I'm very strongly for Tom Meets Gohard. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, I think we're all in agreement about the number 1 option. For Tommy Gohar, I'm also very strongly in favor of that one. For the alternate, I think I would also lean towards Buddy, even though I did very much enjoy the design of Cadence. It just feels to me that thinking of the overall scope of the streetscape and the other pieces, you know, at least the Bountiful piece, which we know has been approved, you know, that would seem to just mesh better with kind of the overall streetscape and colors and the engagement aspect I also enjoyed. So I think I would lean towards Buddy for the alternate, but if other commissioners would like to weigh in and you know push, it seems like there's some movement towards having Buddy as our alternate, but Commissioner Bayar or Vidor, if you want to weigh in, please do so.
Well, I've heard all of you, and you all, you know, I'm glad I'm on a commission of such thoughtful, insightful people, because it certainly helped me move toward Buddy as the alternative for practical reasons. I love the idea of Cadence. I just think what they've done there is extraordinary and very unique. And, you know, I wish there was some other way to realize that type of a piece, what they've done somewhere else in some other form. You're right about the streetscape and the dynamics of the different pieces working together, and with Forma's piece and what we've already chosen, that's they're all very complementary. So I will choose Buddy as my secondary, and certainly hope that we can go with our first choice. So I'm with the rest of you.
I've got some, you know, I was thinking the only way that I think they could make it be completely safe, but I think it would ruin the effect of it, would be to insert like a plexiglass in the negative space. But, you know, that loses its effect. So.
I think also elevating it would do the same thing. It might mitigate a small child falling against one of the sharp or the pointed components. But again, you'd lose the perspective that makes it so special and makes it work. And so, okay, you all, I'm convinced that I think it might be a little risky, you know, to depend on some kind of effective mitigation. So, and I love Buddy, and I do, and Cherry Yank, thank you for pointing out its relationship to the other, to the streetscape itself and the other physical presences there. So, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for the discussion. I think we're ready probably to hear a motion. Jennifer, are you up for reading the motion, and then we can have a commissioner move?
Absolutely. Yes, I can read the motion. The motion is the Arts and Culture Commission hereby recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager or a designee to enter into an agreement for commission of artwork with one of the artist teams listed below to design, fabricate, and install a public art piece for the Artstock Avenue ground level sculpture in an amount not to exceed $100,000 dispersed from the Urban Art Program Fund, as more fully outlined by the March 10th, 2022 report by the Library Arts and Culture's Principal Arts and Culture Administrator. First recommendation, Forma's Studio for the artwork entitled Tamit Gohar, and alternate recommendation, How to Souza for the artwork entitled Buddy.
I'd like to move that motion.
You all want to move. I can second it, Commissioner Zadorian.
So seconded by Zadorian. I think I heard Vice Chair Vyar. Is that correct? For the
yes.
Yes. Great. Okay, so roll call. Commissioners Tufenkian?
Yes.
Vidor?
Yes.
Zadorian?
Yes.
Vice Chair Vyar?
Yes.
Chairperson Eek?
Yes.
Thank you. Director Schaefer or Bo Bass, do you have any final comments or thoughts?
I would just like to congratulate the commission on picking a beautiful piece of art as well as an alternative. You should be very proud of the work you're doing to transform Glendale into an arts and culture destination. And for many years in the future, people are going to look back and each one of you will be able to say, I helped make that happen. So thank you all.
Yeah, I would just want to chime in and thank everybody for the time to review these, to consider them so thoughtfully, and we're really excited. I think any one of these options would have been great. I think from the consulting side, we agree that Forma will make, I think, hopefully a wonderful addition to Glendale's public arts.
Thank you. And Chairperson Yink, if I may move the agenda forward, we're at agenda item 3, which is adjournment.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, everyone.